Hi, everybody. Sorry, it took me a second there. So of course, when I do these, a lot of this is, I'm happy to answer your questions, but a lot of times I'm testing a bunch of stuff. So I was testing a new Wirecast, which has some new functionality that I'm not familiar with, and then I was also testing using the live stream from Wirecast to YouTube, which is also a little new for me. So, not the YouTube part or the Wirecast part, but all of it together. And then I was connecting my little Wacom tablet to this whole thing and using Presenter Pro, or the Presenter system that Wirecast has. So anyway, it was a little bit of a setup there, more than I expected. So anyway, but I'm here, and I'm happy to see you all virtually, or see you on the question engine. So I'm going to go ahead and start jumping through some of these questions, and we'll see where we go. So let's see here. Now the first question here, I have to hold on. All right. So let's answer the first question. This is from Andy Seal. Now, Andy and Alex got here early, and a couple other videos. So we vote things up and down, but I'll answer them as popular. I might skip through a couple of them if they're all from one person. But anyway, but go ahead and vote things up and down. Remember that you can, if you're watching this, you can go to bit.ly/askalex6 is probably the easiest way to type it in, and then vote on questions and move them up and down and so on and so forth. So anyway. And I'm going to tell everyone one more time that it's starting here. There we go. All right, so first one is from Andy Seal. He said, RE, your tweet, Yosemite QuickTime still sucks. What features would make it less sucky? Don't apps like MPEG Streamline cover it? I'll have to look at MPEG Streamline. I mean, the issue is really that it is, I just really want to go in there and cut something really quickly and just like grab a segment. I haven't found anything, and I'll look at MPEG Streamline and see if it's any better. I haven't found anything that just does that. Just like, I just want to cut this really quickly. I just want to add these things together, or I just want to export something out really quickly. And so I will look at that. That is a good point, and I will take a look at MPEG Stream Clip and see if it's just that QuickTime is like this raw thing that I use every day. And I just haven't installed 7 back on Yosemite. I'm not sure if it still runs on Yosemite, but I haven't installed it on yet because I haven't gotten around to it, and I miss it every single time. So I have another computer with it on it, and I have to go back to that. When I want to do things really quickly, I find it, I just want something that's on the OS that I can just cut and paste and grab things, and it's never been that way. So anyway, it's a bummer. The next question here, let's go to the next one here. This is from Ryan in Iowa. And he said, any chance you might sell the custom tablet Telestrator software that you've been using for live demos? Yeah, we're planning to sell, like the kind of the platform of that, that's all connected to. It's going to start off as a service just because we're still trying to figure out how to do it. I know how to do it, but how to make it easy for people to use. But we definitely look at that as a product that will eventually come out. So anyway, yeah. So we're definitely looking at that, all of the stuff that we're doing. When I do this Ask Alex's, when I do classes, this is a platform that we're kind of working on to make it easier to do training. Make it easier to do, whether it's webinars or training or whatever. What we're trying to do with the question system, with the hardware that I'm working on, is how do we make that, at first, how do we make it just at least as good as what you'd have in the classroom, but really the goal is how to make it better. I think that we can get to a point where it actually is a better experience to watch me talk to you, and this isn't right now, this may or may not be. It's easier for you, you don't have to come all the way to Petaluma, but I think that what we want to do is get to a point where it is better. Like if I do, you'd prefer me to do this virtually than to come and do it at a location minus the beers, and so I think that that's what we're trying to figure out how to do, and we're not there yet, but that's what we're working on. All right, next one. So the next one is from Andy Seal again. Hey Andy. Fusion 7 is now free, only works on Windows. Worth installing Windows on the Mac for it? I don't know. Fusion looks pretty cool. I've just never really dug into Fusion. So we use Shake and Nuke and Conduit and After Effects, and I've just never really needed to have Fusion as part of that. I think it's a really great thing for the folks that are, I mean, I think that finding a way to get out there and get to a lot of people, and we've talked a lot of business models, around a lot of business models around that, and just, but right now, I don't know if I'd spend the time learning a new one. If I'm gonna really do nodal compositing, I'm gonna do it in Nuke, and if I'm gonna do kind of the animated compositing stuff, then I'm going to do it in After Effects. Then I'm going to do real-time compositing, and I'm going to do it in Conduit. So, and I have been using Motion. There's a rendering issue with Motion right now that I'm trying to figure out, where it's a little softer than After Effects on some things. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of that. So I've been using After Effects for some of those things, but Motion's great because it's less expensive and it's a little faster. So. Okay, next one here, an answer. This is from Stephen Dainty. Hey, Stephen. Have you announced that you plan to design a product to go head-to-head with the Crane Cam 3000, the future of video podcasting? What compelling features are you thinking of adding? So, I mean, the Crane Cam is amazing. I mean, it's an amazing piece of hardware that Andy has put together. What I'm looking at is the ability, switch back and forth through cameras, be able to see things. The idea is to be able to be in Mac Break. If I want to show you something, I don't have to move it around at all. There's no Crane Cam. It's just me like cutting to something else. And so that's all part of, again, this platform of trying to make it so that I can write on things and I can show you things and I can write on the things that I'm showing you and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. All right, next question here. Let's see here. Answer. New registration just worked on the Final Cut X VUG. Could you, if you wanted, have a 7th virtual seat made up of the group of people in the Final Cut Hangout? Imagine if they could use Apple Remote Desktop to take part. And this is from Alex Goldner from London. And yeah, Alex, we're thinking about that. So we're working on it. We're trying to figure that out. It is definitely, we're going to do some more testing on it. I have to admit, we've been just trying to get that table to work, and I didn't want to add more variables, and we're now down to 5 for a bunch of technical reasons. But adding people virtually and eventually making it this mix match of virtual and possibly all virtual is definitely the place we want to go. A lot of it is just lag time. Is it really going to work? Are we really going to have it smooth? But we're moving that direction. I mean, that is where we want to go with it, is these roundtables. The physical roundtable is a really cool thing, but it definitely limits it. And given that we're a company that does virtual events, you can imagine that we are definitely thinking about how to make that really, really work well. Next question here is from Andy Seal again. Now again, you guys can just ask questions, vote them up and down, do as you need. You provided great golden rules of streaming a while back. As tech constantly changes, is there any advice that you would add now? I don't remember when I did that. I don't remember what I said. So all I can say is pre-production. Pay attention a lot to audio because audio is more important than video. Know how you're going to get in and out of the event. So how's it going to start? How's it going to end? How are you going to get from one place to another? I mean, these are all the basic things that are required. Really understand how you're going to get your camera set up. Audio. Did I say audio? Audio is very important. But a lot of that is just a lot of pre-planning. I think that what we notice when we're working with other companies that do similar things than us, what we notice is they either have better or worse gear. For the events that we do, I think we have adequate hardware. There's definitely better hardware when you see like NFL or something like that. But the ones that are having challenges, we typically find that the gear's a little bit more beat up, a little older, it's rented, those kinds of things, which it's just hard. It's hard to do live production with rented gear, in my opinion, because you just don't know where it's been. You don't know what kind of condition it's in. So I think that's a difficult thing to do. I think that also we just have a very small group of people that we do a lot of our events with, which makes it a little easier. And then we plan a lot, and we're kind of pushy. I mean, remember that you want to have good bedside manners. You want to work with your clients really well, but you also want to remember that your job, they're going to remember some of that, but what they're really going to remember is whether the job went well, whether it went smoothly. And sometimes you're going to have to make requests and demands that push their job in or make it more expensive or move it around because you're looking at the viability of the project and you got to make sure it's going to work. So I don't know if that's not really good golden rules the same way that I had before, but it's kind of where I'm at the moment. Okay, next question, again from Andy Seal. Now, I'm just answering the most popular one. So if you guys disagree with the cadence or the order, then you're going to have to start voting on them. There's a whole bunch of questions in here, and lots of good questions. Next one here is from Andy, and he said, I use a Canon G12 and a Canon G1X. People keep recommending GoPros. The small size is useful, but are they any good in low light construction projects? Often shot in low light above ceilings, unlit rooms. Yeah, the GoPros are not that great for low light, in my opinion. What GoPros are really good for is they're really small, they're compact, they're easy to use, they're durable, they're waterproof. There's a lot of great advantages to them. I don't know if they're necessarily, I would use them over top of other cameras. As an experienced camera, a 180 degrees or almost 180 degrees, and it's got all those things, durability, easy to put on things. GoPros are amazing. We own, I don't know, 10 or 15 GoPros, so we definitely use GoPros for a lot of little bits and pieces. And so they're great little cameras. I don't think they replace like the camera I'm talking into right now, which is a XF105, I think, Canon XF105. So, but it is, but they're great cameras, and you definitely want them in your tool chest. I don't know if they're necessarily the camera that you're going to use all day, every day. Next question here, answer. When you visit Tokyo, can you recommend a reliable service to rent MiFis from? Any other tips for that city? This is from Andrew in Toronto. I think I posted it, and I'll have to go look. One of our producers got them. They're like this long and this wide, and they're like $150. I think they're $150 a week, and it's just this like, it was this 4G modem or MiFi or whatever, and you just stuck it in your pocket, and we used it everywhere. I mean, it was like definitely something that we used a lot, and I'm not sure what the service is called, but they definitely have them. I'll try to find that and tweet it. Tweet me on it like tomorrow or something. I'll try to figure out what that was. But that's a good question, and the services do for tourists and everything else in Tokyo do exist. We might have gotten it from the hotel. Prince Park is where we were staying. I think they might have actually done it there. Next one is from Andy Seal. Reply to Stephen Dainty. How do you find the autofocus? I heard it was slow. Is there manual focus in the video? And I don't know where. Funny. Okay, never mind. Move on. Alex 40 Goldner from London says, did you at one point have a way for people to comment that is shared with everyone without it being a question? Maybe this is a comment checkbox in the light blue area where the discard and submit buttons are. We didn't have that at a point, but we are working on that. It's definitely part of what we're working on here. I think that is definitely worth doing. And Andy and I are talking a lot about commenting and how it integrates with everything. So let's see here. Next question is from Andrew in Toronto. He said, stream looks great on iOS. Keep it up. Thank you. This is a little different than what we did last time. So I'm testing the new Wirecast 6.0, which looks pretty cool. I got a little lost at the beginning there, so that was a little off. But this is an XF105 going through a mini recorder, a little Ultra Studio mini recorder. And my audio is coming in from a USB pre, and with a Audio Technica Lav. Lights are pretty much available, which is not very good, but it's good enough for now. So anyway, I was experimenting. I was kind of experimenting with the presentation stuff with a Wacom tablet, just to be able to do whiteboard stuff. But it's a little slow, so I'm going to try to figure that out later. Next question here. Somehow I think I hit it and then it disappeared. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's try that again. There we go. Next question is from Will DeWitt. I said, FYI, Gmail and Google Plus login fails, but Twitter works. Okay, so we're going to have to work on that. It looks like we're having some issues there. Andy posted his email a little bit further below in the thing, so definitely check that out. All right. Next question is from, oh man. It is Gisli. Did I say it well? Hopefully I did. Gisli Christensen. Chris Jensen from Iceland. Icelandic for Americans. Icelandic for some reason. I look at them and I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's not that bad. Chris Jensen. Anyway, so have you tested the GoPro Hero 4? We have not, and I want to. So haven't done the Hero 4 yet. I'm pretty excited about it, but I haven't played with it yet. Next one, Andy, I'll leave some of the login stuff to you as we're going through that. I'm going to move on to the next one there. Anyway, so what is the cheapest? This is from Will DeWitt. What's the cheapest adequate option for live video with SDI out and CCI iris control? CCU iris control. CCU iris control. I don't know. I have CCUs. I just don't know what's cheapest. I know that some of the JVC stuff that's in like the $7,000 to $8,000 range, I think, have CCUs. Haven't really liked them. I don't really like JVC chips a lot of times. I think that's the problem. I think they're a little grainy. So, and I got into them early, and I just never found them to be as good as I wanted them to be. So I don't know what is the best one. Now, I will say the question is, you're looking at CCU and iris control. One of the things to think about is also whether you want to have something like a Blackmagic studio camera that can now be controlled. You can do color correction with the studio camera over the SDI fiber, and so we haven't tested that yet, but I'm really interested in it. We haven't played with it. We do a lot of remote control, so a lot of times we use an RMB 150 or 170, or better yet, a 750, RMB 750 with a lot of our Panasonic cameras. Our remote pan tilt zoom cameras all have color correction in them built in. It's a little wonky, but we do it. We have some P1s that we have an MCU for that controls all of them at the same time. So it's a great thing to have. I definitely see where you're going with it, but I don't know which ones are the best right now. So sorry, I don't have. I mean, for less money, we're buying a lot of them either used or they're in part of it, or and again, we want to play with the Blackmagic one soon. Next question. This is from Chris Grow in New Orleans. He says, question about managing all your employees at Pixelcore. You talk about how you all use Google Docs frequently. Does Pixelcore run their email through Google Apps? And the answer is yes. So it's a good service. I mean, you need to know that you can go anywhere. You can log into it. We're using Google Docs pretty heavily. So those are all things that we definitely use a lot. So yes. So the answer is definitely yes. Okay, next question here. Answer. This is from Grant Whitehead, and he said, last time watching live on iPhone, I got around the issue of watching as well as asking questions by playing YouTube audio in the background. Worked okay, but not great. Do you have plans for an app? An audio-only stream could help if no app. And the answer is yes. We have plans for that. I don't have a date, but yeah, lots of discussions around second screen, audio streams, how that interacts. Yeah, all of that stuff is stuff that we're discussing. Next question, Andy Seal. Trying Time Machine across Wi-Fi to a NAS drive from 500 gigabyte SSD to 3 terabyte WD MyCloud. I know it sounds like a bad idea. Should it work? Technically, it should work. I don't use Time Machine, so it kind of scares me. I just didn't have a lot of success with Time Machine, so I kind of gave up on it a long time ago. So I'm a little bit more mechanical. I should get into something that's more automatic, because you get mechanical, and I definitely don't back up as fast as I should. But the Time Machine thing makes me a little nutty. All the autosave stuff makes me nutty. Another one from Andy Seal. Voted up, and let's see here. It says, is there a hack to get clean HDMI, or is it just a matter of choosing the right camera? Is it still rare to have clean HDMI out of a consumer camera? If so, that excludes using off camera recorders like the Adamus Ninja or similar. Most consumer cameras will actually do a clean output. It's the 5Ds and a handful of those cameras that won't. But most consumer cameras, I find, we're getting a clean output. You might have to go into the displays and turn everything off, but we get clean output out of some pretty tiny little cameras. So I would definitely take a look at that. We haven't had as much trouble with that as it seems like you're having. So most of our cameras, though, we get it from little G10s, and which we consider a consumer camera. Maybe the smaller ones don't. I know the Panasonic, like the G4s, G3s, those all are clean outputs. So I think a lot of them are clean output, but maybe just not the ones you're using. But I think most of them are. Next question. I've been using Final Cut 10 since it launched. Any thoughts about Yosemite and Final Cut 10? This is from Andy Seal again. We were having some stalling issues with Final Cut 10 that went away when we upgraded to Yosemite. So the answer is looking good. Yeah, so we think that Yosemite is actually a pretty good match for Final Cut 10 right now. We're having a lot of success. There's someone right out this door who's in the middle of it right now working on a project. So it seems to be working well. Next question. This is from Grant Whitehead. When you use YouTube Live backup stream, to what extent is your redundancy? Connectivity, power, switcher? Yeah, so it depends on the project. So we use a backup stream almost every single time. Not stuff like this, but almost every single time we have backups. And sometimes we have multiple backups. We had a big event last week where we had a primary and a backup and a hot swap for each one of those. Now the primary was on site, the backup was 3,000 miles away. They're being connected by satellite, but each one of them had a mechanical hot swap that we could immediately turn on if for some reason it didn't work. So that's their power. We always have a UPS on our systems. Don't put the laptops on the UPS because it takes up a lot of power and there's no reason for it. They got their own UPS. And then connectivity, we always want a separate internet connection and as much diversity as possible. So I don't like using the same one. So if we have if we're encoding on site, I want to use cellular or satellite or a mixture of the both. One of the things you can do with like a live view, for instance, is we have a KA satellite uplink that provides bandwidth, and we can plug that in as an Ethernet to our live view, and now we have all the satellite dish becomes just another source to the live view for data, and that becomes very, very useful because you can it backs up kind of all yourself. If you're in a big business area or a big event, it'll drop over and use that if it needs to. So it's a really useful thing. We have backup switchers typically for a lot of the larger events that we can go to. They're not as good as the main one running it. Usually we're size constrained and so on. Size constrained or space constrained to put 2 whole switchers. But we definitely have a backup so that we can get to something as far as the switchers go. But we tend to have a lot of backups for a lot of things, and we've used them. We use backups all the time. I mean, when you do enough events, we've done over 750 events in the last 3 years, and you definitely have had enough failures on your equipment that you definitely want some backup areas. Next question here, and this is from Chad Lafarge. Hey, Chad. I feel like I know everybody that's asking questions. It's nice. I like it. Anyway, on the subject of using Google Apps Docs Drive, any thoughts about developing a custom workflow app to generate event documentation, planning packages to work from in the run-up to client events? Yes, we have thought about that. I have to admit that we're right on the edge of managing our projects between Google Docs and Salesforce. We both are clients, so there's no conflict. There's conflict, but no conflict for us. Is that we have a lot of stuff in Google Docs, which has been kind of organic and easy to do. But when you get to a certain volume, and the amount of data and everything else, we're not entirely sure that it's the right solution for what we're doing, and so we're investigating Salesforce or possibly some workflow apps. And so those are definitely things that both of them would take coding on our end or development of somebody to get it working. We're still trying to figure that out. This is from Chris. I don't know. I think it's from Gel or Chris Gel. You travel like crazy. What are your top tips, tech or otherwise, for coping? So top tips is for traveling. One is plan out enough time to get everything done. Don't make it this thing that you're running around. When you have a computer and a phone, don't push everything to the last minute. Just get there. Get over there and be ready to go. I like to get there a solid hour and a half, 2 hours before the event. I used to be the last person that would get into line and so on and so forth. But I now try to get there early so I can get planted somewhere and start working again. Get TSA pre-check. I don't know how you get it. As a frequent flyer, it was just offered to me, and I just did whatever. But the TSA pre is amazing. It won't be amazing forever, but it will always be faster because you don't have to go through everything. They're trying to clean up the lines by doing pre-checks and everything else, and so it really makes a big difference. Obviously, really think about whether you need to check anything. Checking is the bane of my existence. Now I have to do it. We sometimes will check 10, 15 bags, so it's something that we do a fair bit of, and we've gotten kind of good at. But really, when I'm personally flying, when I'm going for a meeting or whatever, it's really few and far between where I'll check a bag, and I can go a solid 6 weeks with a carry-on. And so I do have my carry-on, which is over here somewhere, but it's full of stuff right now. I'm not going to pull it out, but it is exactly the international whatever 9 by, I think it's like 9 by 14 by, or 14.9 by 22 or something like that. And so I really make sure that it's within that range, so I'm not surprised. Know what those ranges are. Always use a Scotty vest. And I don't get paid by Scotty vest to say that. The reason I carry a Scotty vest all the time is because you can put 40 pounds into a Scotty vest. You put all your batteries and everything else. So if you get into one of those things where you get a prickly flight attendant at the front gate and she says, well, this bag is too heavy, you can literally just pull stuff out, put it in your, because your bag can only weigh a certain amount, but they don't weigh your jacket. So, and they can't. I mean, they can, I guess, but that's kind of uncool. I wouldn't do it right in front of them. That's just, asking for trouble. But I have put 40 pounds into my jacket and gotten through the whole thing, and then put them all back into the bag because it's a stupid rule. So anyway, that's one thing. I don't get adventurous about eating until I'm on my way home because I don't want to, if I'm usually working, so I don't want to be sick while I'm there. And so I'm kind of careful until then. I use Uber everywhere. I use hotels.com all the time because I get lots of free rooms. I'm trying to think of other things. I always sleep on the plane that in a way that I sleep for the next place I'm landing. So what is night there? And then I try to sleep during that time, which can be hard, but I try to do that. Definitely make sure you're always getting frequent flyer miles somewhere. I'm on both Star Alliance and One World, and I just move them both to gold to make sure that I have as many options when I'm traveling as possible. Now, if you don't fly enough miles, it's not worth doing that because you won't get any status. But if you fly a lot, then it's worth it. Anyway, a couple tips. Hopefully that was useful. Next one is this is from Graham Bell. What is the best way to conduct a podcast over the internet? A minute at the minute using Skype, but it has been lagging in places. If you're doing an audio podcast, Skype works pretty well because you can do what we call a double end. If you use Ecamm software, has this like recording software that you can plug in for Skype that you can record, and so everyone can record themselves and the other side all the way around virtually, and then be able to pull it in if that's what you're doing, talking to other people, around the horn. So if that's what you're doing, it works really well. You don't need it for just recording yourself, but I think it's a pretty good one for group sessions. I still think it's probably the best audio one. Now, best video one is still Hangouts because it's just easiest for everyone to get in and have those discussions. Next question. Oh, I had a couple of these that have been disappearing. All right. What's your recommendation for a high-quality, reliable audio stream to, say, maybe a couple thousand people? There is a... I haven't had to do that recently. There's been a couple services that do that, and I just can't think of them right now. Mostly what we've been doing when we have to stream is we're doing an IP stream to a service, so we're sending it to a company that's doing the replication. And I want to say Nicecast. I think it might be Nicecast is one that we've used in the past, but I don't think we ever did more than a couple hundred. Obviously it adds up depending on your bit rate. If you've got a lot of bandwidth at home or you've got a lot of bandwidth at work, you might find that Nicecast works well. It just creates a little URL, and people can put it into iTunes or into QuickTime. Well, QuickTime 7. I don't think QuickTime 10 does anything useful. But there's a couple different ways to put or in, so that might be one. But I believe, hold on, I'll just make sure that Nicecast still exists. I haven't had to do it for a while. We used to do, Rogue Amoeba, and we're going to assume that it is it was the new version that just released September 19th. So we've definitely used that for some of our audio-only things. I don't know how many people you can do. A few thousand might be pushing it, but we should do a test sometime. But I think that's a good place to start anyway. All right, answer. This one's coming from Chris Gel, I think. It's your name and the location. I don't know whether it's Chris Ingel or Chris Gel. Flickr, now it's unlimited, has become my de facto photo storage location. Local copies are almost back up. Good idea. What's your strategy? So I like to back up. You got to have a cloud location. I have to admit, I back up in a couple different places on the cloud. And I don't take anything that I'm worried about being, picked up by the NSA. So I like cloud services. So I have a lot of my best photos are all, of course, on my iCloud, but they're also on my Google Plus account. I just turn Google Plus on with my phones. Typically, it's mostly my phones that I'm always backing up to G Plus. All my other stuff is all, in a couple different hard drives in a couple different locations on the ground, as well as in the cloud. And so for iCloud, and so and then again in G Plus. And so I like to keep it all there. I think that you get whatever you're using, whether it's Dropbox or Flickr or whatever, definitely have your photos in the cloud or G Plus, just to make sure that they're somewhere that you can get to them. It's also just nice because it's easier to give them to people if you want to. You can very quickly link them and send them, and that makes it a lot easier. So. Next question. This is from Alfred Lowe. FYI, Google Plus login works. Have you tested any Sony A7, A7S for your production or stills? I have not. I really want to test the Sony cameras, and I just haven't had the opportunity. I mean, they just haven't sent them to me, and I haven't had a chance to buy one or borrow one, but I think it looks pretty cool. So, not yet, but hopefully soon. Next question from Richard Dummer. And you sent me the pronunciation, and then now I'm looking at it again. Padaka, I think it's Padaka. In Kentucky, 2.28 megabits down, 720p, slightly buffering, 480p, no buffering. Using AT&T DSL should be around 6 megabits a second. 2.28 would be just a little below. I think this is streaming at 4, so you would definitely see some buffering at 720p. And we're getting close to the bottom. Once I get to the bottom, done. Back to work. And then Stephen Dainty said there's these comments going back, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. It's in the UK you might find a Canon EOS M at Argus for $1.99, 199 pounds. I guess you can't really say $1.99. It has been discontinued. However, at that price we picked one up, and it's not so bad in low light video, and the price is worth comparing to a GoPro. So definitely something to check out. Next one is from Will DeWitt. Do you use any consumer handheld cameras like the ones Leo has? Any problems with delay for live iMag use? So we have a handful of. We have a lot. I say handful. We've got 15, almost half as many as Leo does. G10s. So we definitely use them a lot of times for witness cameras and extra cameras and so on and so forth. We haven't used them for iMag. There's probably a little bit of a delay. iMag is a kind of a crazy thing. You sit in the back of the room and trying to get that all to work. I bet you might see a little bit of lag in them, but probably not much more than what you would see otherwise. We've done 3D with 2 consumer cameras, and it's worked out pretty well. So it can be done. Next question is from Alfred Lowe. He said, FYI, maybe an engine flaw. You can vote on your own question up while lowering other votes. May want to take this power away. We like it that way. You're allowed to vote your question up. Next question. Thanks for fielding all these questions. Very helpful. I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad it's useful. It's useful for me. Next one is from Alex Golner. From London. He said, anything else you want to test with us right now? I wanted to test the agenda items, and I just fell behind. I was trying to test a bunch of other things, and I had a bunch of things I wanted to test. I got a little tweaked in the new version of Wirecast and the screen share, and so I did test them because they didn't work, but not because they're not working, just because I'm sure I should have spent more time on it. It's the middle of a business day for me, so it's sometimes hard for me to dedicate enough time for the setup as I need to. The stuff like Final Cut Pro, there's a bunch of guys down there working on all that all day for many days, so it's a little easier. Next question, Chad Lafarge. On shipping gear to otherwise unsupported remote participant location, what low-end but decent gear would you recommend? So we do a lot of what we call kits, and those kits have a Logitech, typically a C920, a little tripod to put it on, as well as a little stand with a Lowell Ego Light, and we give them a little auto head earpiece. That means they won't have any echo, and they'll sound good. They have a reasonably good light. They have a good webcam that's going to make them look good, and that's pretty much what we send out in a lot of our kits. Now there are specific instances. If it's a group of people, we might have a handheld mic, a USB handheld mic. If it's a person and we want a little better audio, we might use a Nessie. We use a lot of Nessie mics. So those are kind of the things that we, those are some of the things that we use in the kits that we send out. Key is sending them instructions on how to use them, by the way. Next question is from Will DeWitt. Are archives of Ask Alex is still available? They're all on my YouTube channel, and they're all on, I think they're all on Hazu under the same thing here. If you just go back and say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you'll see them all, and I think all the questions are all linked up and everything else, so you should be able to see them there. Yeah, and then maybe the first one didn't have it, but yeah, Andy has the rest of them all set up correctly. What was the backup internet solution with internet you mentioned when you were at a big event? So there's a couple different backup internet solutions that we use. One is fiber, and that's video fiber that we take out of a venue back to our DC facility. We can also use a KU uplink, KU truck or flypack, a KA dish, which will give us bandwidth, a live view, which is bonded internet, bonded modems that are, sometimes we use the live view with the bonded modems with the KA dish. And sometimes we bring in microwaves. So we'll Tower Stream and a couple other companies provide, that put up one thing and we can get really fast connections at the location in most places in the United States. So those are a couple different ways that we augment the local connection. Next question is from Ryan. Have you tested the Replay XD cameras compared to those of the GoPro? I was just talking to a friend of mine about those, and those are supposed to be really hot. I was looking at one. Where was I? I was in New York. I was looking at one. I almost bought it. I should have, but I'm very interested in those. I wish they had full-size HDMI outputs or SDI outputs, but you know, can't have everything. And whoops! I think I accidentally. But Justin, sorry for backups with Ethernet. Well, with Ethernet, usually we're using the KA dish with an Ethernet cable. Is kind of how we back that up. I think that's what you're asking, but I'm not sure. And from Stephen Datey, reply to Andy Seal, autofocus. So and Stephen and Andy are having a conversation. We've got to figure out a way for you guys to have conversations outside of the question system. So you're using it well. I understand the process there, but I have to figure out a way that we can let you do that, run on your own. So unless we get another question in the next minute or two, I'm off. I think the test went pretty well. A couple little login issues, it looks like. We're going to take a look at that. Reminder that the Final Cut Pro user group is tomorrow, and I believe it's at 1 o'clock. I was going to move it to 2 because it may start a couple minutes late, because I was going to move it to 2 because I realized that I'm on Mac break, but I may just end up just walking in and talking to folks. So we'll just see how it goes. So stay tuned for that. And I think that's it. I think we're going to end this because I think that we're not getting any more questions. I think I've burned through as many questions as I can. I was gonna, let's see here. Let me see if I can. Oh, I can't even log in. So anyway, so that's it. So let's see here. A couple more things here. Answer. Chad Lafarge says nested replies would be good. Yes, working on it. And then finally, Ryan says, I'm thinking of going to see my first CES this year. Any quick tips? Look for a place where someone's giving away the free pass, because it's like really expensive to buy a day pass to CES. So look for a lot of companies, you'll see emails are going out. So try to follow the right companies that are going to CES and try to get a free pass, because it's really expensive and not worth it otherwise. I mean, it's a really cool thing to do. Even if you have to pay for the day pass or the expo pass, it's a cool place to go. I've never actually seen any of the seminars. I've spoken in a couple, but I haven't been in them. But the expo pass is pretty cool, because it's a lot of cool things. That's all I got to say about that. And Chris just said, great site and great idea. Thanks for the time. My pleasure. Thank you for coming. I know it's kind of this impromptu thing. I really appreciate everyone coming and letting me make you a big guinea pig and test out our little system and see how it runs. So thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll be doing this soon. I'm going to try to do these at least once a week. I'm getting ahead of it right now because I did 2 in the last couple days, but that was to make up for the fact that the other one didn't work. We really want to test it before tomorrow. So we're glad to test it, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Thanks.